You know what? I give up. Time for a monster chat. Okay. This is Elijah Miller. He is Discord personified. I think that is the correct way to describe him. So he is a transgender. And when I say, I mean I think he's a because he made a video talking about how rated the child and was into it. So I think that's pretty safe to say he was groomed online on Discord. And not only was he groomed, he was apparently so well known to certain 4chan adjacent circles for being a weirdo on Discord that they were grooming, that as soon as this thread was made, many people joined to share their experiences and knowing him or knowing people who knew him and groomed him. You may notice that in the background he has the Imperial German flag. To be precise, I believe that was the Prussian war flag, which has the Iron Cross on it and the 3 colors that became the German Imperial flag. Now, that is because he's also a wereaboo and supposedly a Nazi. His avatar here, if you don't know, that's Kersha, also known as Kirsch, apparently, if you're from Minnesota and wrong. That became his avatar. He says internet funny man. However, he neglects to specify which internet he's a funny man on. Not this one, the uppercase I internet, because he's not very funny. He tuned out. He posted pictures of his guns. He did the whole thing with, let me make sure that this isn't showing anything bad when I open this. It does not. So he decorated this with all sorts of Nazi things. The checkerboard, I recognize that as the Iron Guard of Romania. And I recognize that for the same exact reason that he recognizes that. That is the fascist path in Hearts of Iron 4. He has the fascist logo for the brown shirts from the UK. He knows that for the same reason I know that. That is in Hearts of Iron 4. That's a German rune thing. I don't know what that's exactly from. Anders Breivik is, of course, the neo-Nazi. The arm holding the sword is a Polish fascist symbol. The P with the anchor, that's a Polish resistance thing. That's not really fascist. It might be like a co-opted fascist symbol, but that's not inherently fascist. The cross on the shield is a crusader thing. Und doch. I don't know what that means. Pippa Pipkin, or Pipkin Pippa, sorry, the Japanese way to say that is there. And of course, I know what that is because that's in Hearts of Iron 4. It's the leader of fascist Germany. Here we have a nice pillow of the Pipkin Pippa next to a book about democracy, The God That Failed. This is a German philosophy book. I believe it's a German philosophy book about how democracy is a false god that just allows people to be manipulated, and how it's basically a Julius Evola. Is it actually, wait, is it German or is it Julius Evola? I think it's the same thing as Julius Evola, where it's like a democracy is bad because politicians in democracies can't form long-term plans because they have no investment to besides winning their next election. Whereas monarchs, as personal owners of the country, have a investment to make sure that not only in their lifetime does their country succeed, but the next lifetime with their children. That's like the argument. He has a 38 special, I believe is what that gun is, which apparently is like police surplus. A picture of him in leather straps holding up knee-high stockings. He hasn't shaved because he's too lazy. With the Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger, which is a book I would literally bet my life that this has not read this book, because I haven't even read it all the way. I've read like 60% of it. Storm of Steel was recommended to me at some point, and I needed something to put on my I have a thing that's like an e-reader, a Kobo. I would highly recommend Kobo, by the way. That thing I put into a junk bin of electronics like 3 years ago, and it has been bashed and smashed and like scratched up, but it still works perfectly. So that thing is indestructible. I would actually recommend that if you want an e-reader and don't want to give Amazon money. But I put it on my Kobo at some point to read when I had downtime and I couldn't access the internet. So I read the Storm of Steel by Ernst Junger, and it's an interesting book. It's such a brutal, dry read. It's literally like this. So I went to in the war. I was conscripted, and I went to the French city of and the artillery shells landed, and people were blown to bits, and it was quite gruesome. A week later, I was moved to the other city of Pont-Pompion, and the artillery shells there were even worse. And on my first day, I saw somebody's head get blown open like a watermelon. And then I was moved to La Haye de Honhan, a different city, the next week. And the artillery shelling there was awful, like the worst artillery shelling ever, just never ended. And then after that, I poked my head up above the trench, and I was like 3 feet away from an Englishman. And I was like, "Hey, buddy," we both spoke French, so I was like, I have a beer and you have cigarettes. Do you want to trade a beer for a cigarette?" So we reached across the barbed wire and traded cigarettes for beer. And that's like that book. It just keeps going and going. And then I saw an entire brigade of young men blown to pieces by artillery shells. There was one guy that almost got away from the artillery shells, but then it hit wood and sent splinters flying, and it pierced his skull with a splinter the size of a pencil. And it's just like, it is hard to read this book, and it never stops, It's just constantly, yeah, young boys from Germany and the UK. We took over a trench, and there were the bodies of a bunch of Englishmen, so I stole their cigarettes. Shit like that. It just never. So I know this did not read this book. Anyways, there was a picture in particular. Here's him at a VTuber convention. I think he's with one of them. I don't know if he's in this picture. Oh no, it's not. So he's not in this, but they showed up in military gear holding a pink flag that says PMC Pipa Group, and then the Russian underneath says Grupa Pipa, and that is a reference to the PMC Wagner in Russia at the time. I can only imagine, by the way, imagine this, like, imagine how inadequate you must feel. You're in your television box. By the way, this is, in case you're wondering, this is a POV, your gator approaching, I forget the name of that anime that he was talking to. POV, your gator about to walk up to your favorite person in the world, and it's just like a television box, like an advertisement that's on like a bus stop. So I imagine the sense of insecurity that this other anime has, where she's just chilling there by her box, and then the Pippa box has like 8 weirdos decked out in military uniforms with like a flag. I can't tell what expression this is. Is this character trying to portray shock and fear, or is this like happiness or neutral? I don't know. Anyways, the uniform he's talking about, this is him replying, by the way. No, I'll get into that in a second. He made little patches he can sew on. And he's definitely Russian LARPing, because he has that blue and white stripes. I forget the name of that. But one of the funniest things I saw in Ukraine, it was an old guy, like super old, and he had like a full sailor uniform. That blue and white stripe is really popular with like as like undergarments for sailors in the Soviet Union. So he was like in military bottoms, just like a wife beater with that blue and white stripe, and then he had like a Soviet naval commander's cap, like the full-on immaculate condition shiny badge, like something about the Navy from the Soviet Union, because I was in Odessa, which was a Soviet Union port on the Black Sea. And it was really crazy. It was like out of space and time, like this guy just walking around in his like dress uniform hat, but then like he didn't want to be uncomfortable, so he's just walking around in the blue and white stripes. Yeah, Sailor Corps, exactly. That was cool to see. Anyways, he's doing the Russian LARP. I know he's doing the Russian LARP because there's another picture where he is, I don't know if it's one of these other, oh, it's this. I immediately recognize that this hat is the Russian camouflage pattern. And I think that, yeah, this is him. He's wearing the hat in this with the Pipa Grupa so on, and the proper like modern Russian thing. And he's there with like some kind of with ears holding up the flag with the Pippa on it. And look, I'm sorry to the anime people, okay? I'm trying not to be super uncharitable here, but you just have to say, look, their cope is that because he has so many like conflicting identities that he's not an actual VTuber fan. I'm sorry, this dude is obviously a VTuber fan, and it's like when the couch cuck, those two Mexican kids in New Mexico. It's like, I mean, he had a forum account. He was an admin of Encyclopedia Dramatica. I would say he was much more ED aligned than that, but you can't deny that he had a forum account. It's not the forum that radicalized him. I'm not saying that Peppa Pipkins was like Peppa Pipkins. I'm not saying that the rabbit was like go kill people, Segoy. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I am saying that that he was a fan, and denial of such things is cope and seethe. Oh, okay. I'm being told, I'm being corrected live that when the Pippa PMC group showed up, I forgot to read the message. Our Pippa PMC rolled up to see the boss, Pipkin Pippa, today. We received our orders and some good morale boosting words. Thanks for seeing us, Peppa. We're forever loyal. So she did not she did not discourage the military fatigue people, and apparently gave them a rousing speech, presumably by banging on her desk and being like, I don't know. I don't want to try to emulate like VTuber Hitler, but you understand where I'm going with that. So what happened is that he got into trouble because he went to one of the No King rallies, and I want to say, got into a fight with somebody and then got arrested. Here we go. I think this is it. Oh, he was a counter protesting at the No Kings thing. So he showed up like in his bullshit and got arrested because he got into a fight. No libertarians here. Libertarians are cringe. Show us where your Asian wife is, sir. Sir, we heard that you like VTubers. You gotta come with us. We got a few questions with you. Yes, you are. You are being detained, sir. You are being detained. Drop the anime. This is a lawful order. Drop the anime magazines now. I don't care that she's 5,000 years old. Canonically, sir, we're not asking this. We can talk later. Drop the anime now. Always comply, Chad. Don't bother fighting. So after he got arrested, I think he got charged again and was arrested later. And what happened is, the reason why this guy now has a thread, in case you don't know, Throng here, shout outs to Throng. I'm afraid I'm going to have to get messy. After the drop Kiwi Farms stuff, all the VTuber people in the Kiwi Farms moved over to a different website. They started up on their own, and Throng is one of the moderators on there. He is also one of the moderators for Pippa Pipkin's chat, and I believe he's a moderator for Kirsch's Discord as well. So when he heard that his queens were being portrayed in a negative light by this bizarre weirdo Nazi, he rallied the troops and immediately doxed this guy and got all this information, which props to him. However, I believe his intentions are the sort of thing where it's like, look, we're going to disavow this guy like as hard as possible so that nobody can point to this and say he's a VTuber fan. And I did a poll. I added a poll. So after 300 votes on the Kiwi Farms, 59% said that he's a real fan and 41% said that he's a false flag. I did another poll on Twitter and the results were more favorable towards the VTubers. Let me find it real quick. So I'll just read you the results. Okay, after one day, it got 1,894 votes, of which 51% said it was a false flag and 48% said it was not a false flag. So it was a very, very close poll. I suppose I can do a poll in my actual chat as well, and we'll see what they have to say about this. So poll: real fan or false flag? Question mark. Real fan, vote 1 for that. False flag, vote 2 for that. I think that's how that works. I haven't done it in so long that I forgot how to do it. Okay, that is it. So you have to type in exclamation point, vote 1 for real fan, exclamation point, vote 2 for false flag. And I'll let that run for a second and we'll see. I imagine that my audience is going to be particularly unfavorable, but we'll see. With 100 votes in, which is about all I can get with forcing people to type. It is about 75% for yes and less than 25% for false flag. So as I predicted, my audience is a little bit less favorable to the VTubers. VTuber fanboys actually outing themselves in chat. Yeah, something like that. So I'll call it there. 75.61% said real fan, and the remainder 24.39% said false flag, which I think... I mean, like, look, you don't get to decide who your fans are, okay? I'm not saying that the VTubers told them to go be a weirdo or to get groomed or to read of Storm and Steel, okay? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he was a real fan, okay? This thread, by the way, it's really a ride, and it is a testament that you should not let your children have unrestricted internet access. His backstory is kind of sad. His father died, I think, when he was like 9 or 10. So he hit puberty and had unrestricted internet access. He had a single working mom. His father died, and the clutches of Discord are unforgiving and merciless. And they dragged him into the abyss, kicking and screaming. There's a video of police hauling out his computer. So he's under arrest, I think, for like battery at like the protest. Never go to a protest and counter protest, by the way. Echoing a sentiment from Sam Hyde. So if you don't take my word for it, take Sam Hyde's word for it. Never go to one of these things and counter protest. It's like the quickest way to fuck up your whole life is to get into a fight over some stupid bullshit. This protest changes nothing, so there's no reason to go there and fight people and get arrested and get a criminal record for that shit. But he did, and then I think they reviewed his internet history and saw him talking about child. Oh, I didn't even mention he eats. There's tons of videos of him hooking off covered in shit. He apparently even sold videos of covered in shit to like shit related sites. So yeah. Anyways, they went through his internet history and they saw that he had talked about child. So they took his computer, and I imagine he probably doesn't have the means to hide that from the police. So he might get CP charges, and then his life is basically just over. We love our cops, our law enforcement. And it's very funny when shit like this happens and people are very embarrassed by it. Oh, he was also big into VR chat. This is something I know nothing about. I don't own a VR headset, and I have absolutely no interest in being in VR chat. I thought VR chat was like a weird like gimmick that came and went because I don't hear much about it. But I feel like the reason why you don't hear much about it is that it did come and go for like the overwhelming majority of people. But there were some people who got sucked into it and now are like nonstop gooning in VR chat. So he's involved in that shit as well. I know absolutely nothing about VR chat. But yeah, apparently like all the legitimate entertainment value that came from VR chat is like gone, and all those people that made it popular are gone. And all that's left is like Discord gooners using avatars to like right now. So I don't know what's going on with that. I imagine VR chat is like the natural evolution of Second Life. So you have like these extremely mentally ill people who have these avatars that are like preposterous, and they're just like in these social circles that are embarrassing. That's my probably what VR chat is. It's VR Discord. Okay. VR chat is Zoom or Second Life. Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like that was a good comparison. I don't have a headset. I don't have a VR headset. and I had no interest in it. I'm not, believe it or not, chat. And this is probably my saving grace. I'm not much of a social butterfly. You know how in The Sims there's like a social meter, and if you don't interact with anybody for too long, your character goes insane because you have to be like social. I have the introvert personality on The Sims where your social meter never goes down because you don't talk to people. I'm like that. I have a friends group of like one person. Okay, I actually more than that. I have like 3 people I will talk to on a weekly basis. One of them is a lawyer. um, and then the other 2 are just like nerds, and occasionally we talk about cryptocurrency. That's it. That's my friend circle, and my social meter never goes down because I am content in my life. Okay, so I never have I never are thinking like, God, I'm so lonely today. I want to strap on a VR headset and like talk to people about Pippa Pipkins. Okay, I never have that urge. It just never comes to me.